This is my 2000 Chevy Astro camper van. Today, I want to give you the full tour. So let's check it out. I bought this with 146,000 miles on it. The price was right at only 1,600 bucks. So on the inside, it's fully built out here. I've got a floor, bed, TV system here. So I've made it as comfortable as I can for day-to-day living out in the amazing desert. So I'll just give you a quick rundown on the build and then we'll go into each individual component in a little bit more detail. So up on the roof, I've got two 100-watt solar panels that power a 100 amp hour lithium battery. I've got a TV, media center set up here. I've got a hard drive, Android TV box, got a cell phone signal booster. This is my bed. This pulls out and it folds up. Got the vinyl plank floor, cedar plank walls and ceiling. And then up front I've got a swivel seat and I've got my Dometic cooler. And then of course all the shelving and stuff. Up on top I've got a toolbox. I've got my two solar panels right here. And then these are my recovery tracks. I do have this roof rack. So the roof rack is really nice to have because it allows me to bolt things to it. I built this van out in about 6 weeks. I did all the work myself. And this is my first build. So let me show you how I use this space and how it works for me. Probably the first question you'll face with layout in a Chevy Astro van build is, you know, which direction do you put the bed, widthwise or lengthwise? I'm 5'11", so for me, I mean, lengthwise is pretty much the only option. I personally don't like a bed that just, you know, takes up the whole back half. I like this much more. So the bed does pull out. It just slides right out. It's got these slats on it. And it also flips up so you can access storage underneath. I rarely ever have to lift the bed up because the system of bins, you just slide these out and it's pretty efficient as it is. And I've got pillows that would have gone here, but I never really bring them because as a single person, I don't need to pull this out ever, you know. So if I was sharing this bed with somebody, you know, I would add these here and then they almost make a twin size bed. And for the mattress, I went with a 5-inch foam mattress. It's really comfortable. I get excellent sleep on this thing. And then for the mattress cover, I think it was twin or queen sheets, I can't remember, but folded them over the mattress, cut it, and then used a sewing machine and just sewed it together. Then flipped that inside out, and you've got this, you know, halfway decent seam here. And it's open on one end. I just have it folded over, and that way I can take this off and put it in the washing machine and wash this from time to time. You can sleep another person on the bottom here as well. I'll take these backpacks and put them up on the front seat at night. And then if I have a friend join me, then he can sleep on the ground here on an air mattress. And that works pretty well to have a guest for like a temporary, you know, couple of nights or something like that. And then I don't use blankets or anything. I just use my sleeping bag that I have for backpacking. And the walls, I went with this nice cedar planks. It smelled really good at first. Now that has faded and you don't really smell the cedar all that much anymore. Went with the cedar planks up on the ceiling as well. Just keep this thing velcroed up here just to like prevent light and, you know, drafts from getting in and everything. But this is my Max Air fan. Pretty much never use the thing. And then over here I keep the controller for it by my bed. So on my back door here I keep my temperature and humidity monitor. In the desert, the humidity is so low that, you know, it's just not really a need to be venting out the air and everything. It's it could be 15 to 40% humidity here, and then by closing the doors at night and breathing in here just with one person, you know, it may be 55-60% humidity. So all it does really is even it out and normalize it to prevent cracking and everything really in this wood. And then over here I've got my shelving system, and then yeah, this just kind of hooks into this carabiner here, and then I can take up the slack, and then that keeps it all secure when I'm driving. So you move this out of the way, and then I've got all my shelving system here. This backpack here is all of my rockhounding tools and gear, so I keep this ready to go. And these carabiners do a great job at preventing these packs from moving around while you're driving. The bottom of the shelving unit, I've chosen to make this area my power center. This is an inverter in this case here, and then this is my lithium battery, and then this is all of the electrical components. So I've wired them up here in this power center that goes over this wheel well, so this is pretty much out of the way. And then so the battery doesn't move, I made these put these like little screw eyes here, and then I've got a a ratchet strap that keeps some tension on this so it doesn't move. Got a master shutoff switch here for all of the power in the van. And this is the fuse panel for all the DC wiring in here. This is all my lights and stuff like that. And then I've got circuit breakers here so I can shut off main components like my fuse panel or my DC to DC charger here. This is the unit that takes power from the solar panels, and it's also hooked up to my alternator so I can charge my lithium battery, you know, by either one of those sources, the solar or the alternator. Inside this case, I've got my 500 watt inverter, and I never use this for anything in this van because everything else is running off 12 volt, but I need to use it to trim my beard and to cut my hair for my hair trimmers. So those are the only things I actually use AC power for, and it fits in there nicely out of the way inside the power center. And on this door to the power center, I've got these little metal plates on the back and then these magnets up here. So that's how this thing stays closed. It's got a nice amount of tension on it. It's perfect. It's never once come open while driving. So if I want to charge by solar, then I will flip this 20 amp breaker. And now that red light has come on and it says that it's drawing in power from the solar panels. And if the vehicle were running, I could flip this 80 amp breaker here, and then I could charge my lithium battery back here with the vehicle's alternator. And solar has worked great for me out here in the desert, but for those occasional rainy days, if you get like 3 or 4 of them in a row and your battery's running low, you know, I could charge with the alternator, but I rarely have to do that. On the back of the power center here, I've got an outlet, 12 volt outlet. That is where I usually put this fan. If it gets hot in here, I just turn this thing on. Up here, I keep my hats, so I can just take these out of the way. And then on the back of this, what I did here is instead of taking this shelf and running it all the way to the back, and even with this part of the power center, I kind of left it indented, and that way I can, you know, use this space for something other than shelf space, because I've got enough of that. And then I generally use this space for like long, tall things. I've got a slider track here for photography. Sometimes I put fishing poles here. Right now I've just got this little garbage can with just a few items. Now the shelving unit here, basically what I've done is I've just used these like little J attachments here, and then I've got a piece of bungee cord running across this, and this has been enough to keep all of these items in the shelf while I'm driving down rough dirt roads. So when I want to get something off the shelf, I'll just take this off and pull this down. And in here I've got basically camera gear, some lenses and microphone, things like that. Up here I've got batteries and charging cables. And up here I keep my toiletries. I've got wet one wipes, hand sanitizer, spare contacts. And on this middle shelf, it's a bit of a junk drawer. And an HDMI cable here. This is kind of hiking stuff that I would use to maybe repair some of my hiking gear. Normally I might carry this in my backpacking gear. Super glue, rubber bands, sewing equipment, little towels. In here, a spare mouse for the computer, some cordage for backpacking, just some tools and charging cables and things like that. I've got a solar panel here. I carry this backpacking. I don't need it here in the van, but this does a great job at charging things while I'm backpacking. I store extra food up here just out of the way. In this tub here I keep food. Got some pita bread, tortillas, some chips. Gotta have the hot sauce. This is sort of my office kit here. I've got some tape, rubber bands, some stickers, pens and pencils, checkbook, carabiners, some clips for my mining headlamp, some thumbtacks, you know, really just office sort of junk. And in this lower section is mostly where I keep my clothes. And I keep this netting in here, and it's great because, you know, this can expand outwards and you can really stuff a lot of stuff in here. Sleeping bag, you know, rain gear, basically all of my clothing items here. This is like the bulk of my clothes that I fit into all, just this one little tub, really, the stuff that I wear. Sleeping bag liner. A lot of this stuff is my hiking gear that is just kind of thrown in place here because I need to have it for when I do my hikes. And then I've got a tent back here. I've got another backpacking tent here. I've got this 5-gallon bucket that I really only keep in here because I do a lot of rock hounding. So I keep my rocks in that. Hey, I've got a bag of chips. I completely forgot about these salt and vinegar chips. I'm gonna take these. And then I put these little J-clips here. And that's what this netting connects to. So this stuff kind of gets stuffed in place. And I use this cargo netting here to utilize the space above the bed. And I'll put clothes up here, especially ones that I'm going to sleep in. And then my remote control here for my Android TV box. This is the shelving unit I have at the head of my bed. Got a 12-volt outlet here. Got the lights for the cubby holes here. Those little LED lights. These are kind of cool. It's just like a flush mount light, you know, and it screws right in here. And I keep some of my camera equipment, or really just, it kind of changes depending on what trip you're out, you know, doing, because you might need these things for different purposes. And then in the bottom one here, I just keep stuff like my glasses case and contacts. And this is pretty cool to have in the van. This thing is called Retro Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi, and it's loaded with like literally all the old retro games, you know, Atari and Sega, Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
When you don't have the puck, how do you speed up?
C.
Okay.
Check.
I've been doing that right then.
Always be checking the ABCs of hockey.
Man, it's good to have something like that at camp, to just something to do inside, you know, especially in the winter when it gets dark at like 4:30 p.m. I put a little bit of just like padding down here for my things, just so I have something soft to set it on. And then I've got a cork board back here, which I kind of meant to put some photos on or something, and I never did. And then take these out of the way. You can lift this up and access everything underneath. And I did it this way because I didn't know how I was going to use this space, and you know, maybe I had a bunch of stuff here that I didn't want to move. So it would be nice to be able to access things from two different locations. And I don't really use it this way, but I can if I need to. And as a bonus, I've got some access to some of my wiring here. So I've got 2 outlets that I have right here. And this one's for my laptop, and this one is for my cooler, which is plugged in right here. And that's why I put these outlets here, so I've got the shortest run possible to this cooler. So I went with this vinyl plank flooring. It's been pretty good, but I do get a little bit of separation in between a couple of the planks. That's probably because when I put my threshold in, I probably screwed it down, you know, through the vinyl planks, and this is meant to be a floating floor. And what they mean by that is that you're not supposed to put a screw through it. The end of the plank should be somewhere before it reaches this screw, so you can basically slide back and forth, expand and contract. And then I use this 90-degree angle aluminum to make my thresholds here and kind of finish off the edge of the flooring. And the screws I use throughout the build, pretty much everywhere possible, are called Spax construction screws. It's got this star head, they never strip, and these things, they're a lot more durable and strong than drywall screws. So they'll take a beating. You can drill through a lot more things without snapping heads off. This bin is full of stuff I rarely use, but pretty much got to have it. A pair of micro spikes for hiking, which I'll probably be using these this summer. Multimeter, you know, if you need to do any testing for the electrical system. Some straps and tie downs. These are some rain pants, some heavy duty rain pants. And this is sort of my like cleaning bin here. Well, granola bars and cleaning stuff. You know, I've got iron out that I use for cleaning rock and mineral specimens. Got some rubbing alcohol, you know, vinegar, baking soda, soap, and WD-40. I had to shave this down because the handle was just a little bit too tall on this. So yeah, that was fun. Got a water filter, a hammock, some Frog Tog rain gear, some hammock straps, you know, gas for a stove, a little cooking set here. Then I've got this 6-foot extension cord. This is good because anything you're going to use with the inverter, you're probably going to want to run it, you know, somewhere up at the front of the van, and the cord might not reach, so this comes in handy. I just keep like a bathroom trash can in here, and I use these, you know, Walmart grocery bags. And then while I'm in the van, I'll usually put them down below the front driver's seat here, and just kind of put my garbage here so it's out of the way while I'm at camp. Over here we've got a couple towels and some, you know, another shirt and basically some more hiking gear. Can of bear spray. This is my tool bin. I built the van so I know exactly, you know, what went into it and what needs to be in this bin in order to do the most basic repairs and even some, you know, more intermediate or even advanced ones on the road. So cordless drill is pretty much essential. These extension pieces are really nice to get into like deep spots. This is a set of drill bits. These are all the driver bits for the drill. Socket set. This one's pretty crappy, pretty basic. My better tools here in these bags, I've got it sorted by you know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 3/8. A set of wrenches, you know, gloves, screwdrivers, pliers, duct tape, hammers, wire. I mean, you pretty much got to have this if you're going to do any electrical repairs or anything. And you know, because I built the van myself, I know every little screw that went into this van, so that's exactly what I have here in this kit. I've got every screw that I would use to build this van, so if I need to replace, you know, a section of the wall, I've got the exact screw I used. If I want to, you know, replace a piece here on the side of this shelving, I've got the exact nail that I used, and it's, you know, I don't have to guess, I don't have to remember, I don't have to go to the store and buy it. I've got them all right here. So yeah, I would highly recommend, if you're doing a build, to just do something similar, because I've used this multiple times already. And one more bin here. This is some rockhounding stuff. Some, you know, brushes to clean my rocks, a mining headlamp. Get a really nice piece of fluorite in here. Check out this fluorite. This is my side shelving unit here, and this is what I came up with to keep all the contents inside the shelf when you're driving around on rough roads. So I've got this shock cord, and I just wrapped it around a series of these nails here. Now you can position these nails however you want. You know, you can make it just, you know, only cover this bottom section, the top, the whole thing, just the middle, whatever you want to do. You just wrap it around the little nails, and then this does a pretty good job of keeping everything in place while I'm going down all these rough dirt roads. So I got toilet paper in here, and then this is my little bookshelf here. And then on this side, you've noticed I got my little banana keeper. I've just got a little hook here, and this is where I keep bananas while I'm at camp. And you'll notice all of these edges are rounded off, and that really goes a long way when you're reaching your hand into these shelves over time, especially quickly, you know, because this way you can't catch yourself on that sharp edge. And in the middle here, I've got just another cardboard box here with some multivitamins, some spices, protein bar, a pair of scissors. And then in this shelf, I keep food. I've just got my bread and bagels, got some chips, peanut butter, almonds. And then I decided to go with an open design here. This way I can just keep this backpack in here. It's the perfect size. It just slides right in. This is sort of like if I'm going to stay at a, you know, a hotel or a friend's house or whatever. I keep my stuff in here, spare set of clothes, and you know, this is my bag that I would bring on the airport. And then I keep my laptop and things in here too, some of my electronics. Comes out, and then I've got access to storage back here when I need it, which is practically never. And then, you know, I've got mouthwash, jumper cables, an air mattress. I think there's a jack back there, you know, a couple of things of oil, you know, for the van. Behind the driver's seat, just got like a little dustpan and a broom, and this is where I keep my plates, dinner plates. In this bag, I've got a bunch of Ziploc bags, you know, gallon bags, quart bags, sandwich bags, and I keep them in this large Ziploc bag just for storage. And then this is my dirty clothes bag, you know, good place for it, out of the way, behind the driver's seat. I've got my fire extinguisher back there. So this is my cooler. This is a Dometic, I think it's a CFX 28. And this particular model is no longer being made. It got phased out and they're building something new now. I did opt to get this like insulation sleeve over it. I don't know how much it helps, but it certainly doesn't hurt. You can see it helps keep the cooler insulated, which is really good when you've got the desert sun and everything beating down on the cooler in the middle of the day. Keeps my food cold. You know, I have berries and cream cheese and you know, chocolate and, you know, all cheeses and lunch meat. And then in the cab here, you'll notice I've got a tablet, and I'll use this to run, you know, Google Maps, or, you know, I can run like topographical maps or things like that when you're really getting out to the back roads. Those are usually more helpful than Google Maps. And, you know, it's nice to have like a big screen that's not on your phone. And this thing's called a scan gauge. It allows you to read all the like check engine light codes and stuff on the fly and reset them. It also gives you your gas mileage and, you know, things like that. This is my stereo unit, and I went with one that has a front USB input because I could get this tiny little USB stick. You could just store all your music on this, and everything's just there when you need it. You don't have to worry about internet connection. And this is where I spend most of my time in the van, on this passenger seat. And because it swivels, it just creates all this extra room in the van, and it just makes it look so much larger than it is. You know, you can see from this perspective, it just looks big, you know? It's plenty big for one person. And this is where I eat when I'm in the van, just right here on the passenger seat. I've got my plate, and then you're gonna want your silverware nearby, so I've got them in this little bag here. I've got everything I need just kind of hanging here, so I don't have to dig for it in one of these. And then underneath my swivel seat is where I keep things like my slippers. These are the pant legs that I have for my zip-off pants and shorts. So I'll keep stuff like that just, you know, kind of stashed away somewhere where I can get them quickly. And, you know, usually this is pretty good. If I wear sandals, you know, I might put them here. And I'll also put things on the edge of this here, like I've got rocks here that I find and everything that I'm kind of waiting to put away. If it's raining out, I won't leave my shoes out overnight. I'll put them right here. And then on the inside of my sliding door, I use these little magnets to hold up this mesh. And you could put, you know, socks, and these are gaiters that I would put over my shoes to keep debris out when I'm hiking in the desert and stuff. Things like that, you know, so you can quickly use them. So in the front cab here, I added some things for some extra lighting here. I've got this LED light. You flip the switch, and then this gives me a good amount of light while I'm working here on this front passenger seat. And then I added this center console as well. This wasn't in the van when I bought it. And the main reason I did is just so I could have some control over these little extra lights. It's got 4 lights. So, you know, they're directional too, you know. So that's handy to have for the extra light, as well as, you know, the storage space. I can put my sunglasses in here and things. And then I also have a level here, so I know when I get to camp if I'm level or not, at least this way. And I've got another level back here, and this is on my the arm for my monitor here. And this one will tell me if the van is level, like from front to back. So in the front passenger seat, when I have it turned around backwards like this, which is pretty much all the time, that's what I keep back here. I've got my shovel. These are my buckets for rockhounding. This is a backpack I have for hiking, and then this is another 6-gallon water jug. And I carry 2 of these. I'll keep one behind the seat, and then usually the other one's sitting somewhere over in the shade, and then this is the one that's got water in it. And I use these 1-gallon water jugs to pour water into for my 6-gallon jug. So I just fill this up once a day and, you know, draw from that. Then in this pocket here on the passenger door, I've got a first aid kit. And then I keep, you know, a bunch of like fast food napkins, and then, you know, Walmart grocery bags and stuff like that. Those are my garbage bags for my little garbage can. And the one thing every van build needs is window coverings for privacy and to keep, you know, light out. And for window coverings, I've taken Reflectix and I've glued on some black felt to the other side. And then I've got the Reflectix side going on the inside here, and then I've got magnets at set intervals around the sides. And then the window coverings just go up with these magnets. It's super easy. And you can see that does a great job of keeping all the sunlight from getting in. And for the back windows, I've done the same thing. I've just cut out the pieces of Reflectix, cut them to the shape of the windows, and then I use magnets to put these on. And for the side windows, you can see I've done something different. I left like these little tabs here. And now you can see there's this space left up here, and the reason I did that is because I can crack my window like just to the level of this space here. And then from the outside, because I've got these vent shades on here, nobody can tell that I have the window cracked a little bit, so I can get airflow into the van. And you can see from just even a few feet away, it just looks like I've got a dark tinted window, and anybody who's going to approach this van is not going to be able to see in, so that gives you a pretty good bit of privacy. It's really hot out and you would just want to get some breeze inside the van but want to have everything closed up at night, I would turn on my overhead fan and that would suck in air from the windows and just get some fresh air rolling through. And then here's a look at the solar panels. So I built this aluminum frame here to kind of house the two solar panels together and keep them together as one unit. And then to mount these solar panels, I did something a little unconventional, but I don't know why. I was just so hell-bent on not drilling through the front cab here through the roof. But I used these adhesives and the VHB tape, I think it's the 3M VHB tape, very high bond. And that goes on the underside, it went over it. And then I used this like really heavy duty rubberized tape here. So there's a shitload of surface area, and this thing is solid. Like, look at, there's no movement to this whatsoever. And it's worked really well. I've had this thing up to 85 miles an hour. They've been on there 2 years. I've probably driven 40,000 miles with this van, you know, and had no issues. And because it's on these hinges, if I were to unscrew these screws, I could then take the entire solar panel setup and flip it up this way. Then I could access underneath the roof here if I needed to. Or if I really needed to like maximize the angle towards the sun, I could tilt them up in that way. So my van's also got a roof rack. This came with the van when I bought it. And this has been very handy. I've been able to mount the toolbox to it. And then just recently, I made this like mounting system here for my recovery tracks. So these recovery tracks are held in with these 7-inch screws that are sticking out. And I've just got like a piece of PVC that I cut to length here. It's like a spacer. And then some wing nuts. So I can quickly take these off when I need them. And you could put them in soft sand or gravel or whatever if you get stuck, and it gives you a solid surface to drive over. Put it right behind the wheel, and this will help me get some traction. I'll be able to drive right out of this. And these recovery tracks are awesome. I've used them 5 or 6 times this winter, 5 or 6 times last winter, and they've got me unstuck in times where I don't know how I would have got out without them, you know, and I'm in places without cell phone coverage and stuff. So, I mean, pretty much must have to be like self-sufficient out in these kind of environments. And then the other great thing about these recovery tracks, and I use them for this occasionally, is to level out your vehicle if you're at a campsite that's slanted one way or another. You can put 2 of them up on the front wheels to give you front or back lift, or you can put 2 of them on the same side and give you like a side-by-side lift and then help level out your campsite. Now this is a 2-wheel drive stock clearance Astro van, and I've driven this thing some places it probably shouldn't have ever been driven. And a good set of all-terrain tires is pretty much essential out here, and I'm running these General Grabber tires, and man, they've done a great job for me. And to mount this toolbox to the roof rack, I used this 90-degree piece of angle aluminum. And that allowed me to set the toolbox on, you know, this lip here, and then, you know, have something to screw into. And then inside the toolbox, I keep things that, you know, I generally don't use all that much. I've got a couple extra pairs of shoes. I've got a new pair of shoes for when I go on hikes. I'll get a new pair. I've got a crowbar for rock hounding. I've got, you know, trekking poles for hiking, extra pair of sandals, a second camp chair if I have a guest with me. And then you'll notice these pieces of rope here, and I've got these at the 4 corners here because I was using those as anchor points for straps to strap a kayak down to this. And here you'll notice this antenna. This is the outside antenna for the WeBoost cell phone signal booster. It's called the WeBoost Drive. And so the outside antenna pulls the cell phone signal in, and then through this cord, it runs into the cell phone signal booster here. And then it takes that signal, it amplifies it, and then it spits it out inside the van through this inside antenna. I had to do this kind of funky mounting system because there really weren't any tabs on the outside to like just screw it in. It's actually meant to just be Velcroed under a seat. So I had to make this elaborate, you know, wooden thing. And when I turn it on, this light will just flip back and forth for a second until it, you know, amplifies the signal. It's solid green, so now the cell phone signal is boosted. This will generally boost something from, you know, 1 bar to, you know, 2 or 3, or 2 bars to 4 or even 5. So it does a really good job at what it does, but it is expensive. So I've left this side open to be like cubby holes and stuff, so I can put things here when I enter the van, because this is going to be used, you know, frequently, and you're going to want storage space right here, more so than you're going to want, you know, having this shelf come all the way out to here and then just having a wider shelf, you know. So up on the top here, this is kind of like my bathroom sink. I've got my hand sanitizer, I've got a hand towel, I've got soap, I have toothbrush, wet ones, toothpaste, and contact lens solution. And then the way I've kind of got all this stuff in here, I thought was pretty clever. All I did was just put a few nails in here, and then I've got some shock cord that holds all this stuff in place. So this way this stuff is kept vertically so you can access it quickly. It keeps it from being cluttered, and it keeps it from falling when you're driving down rough roads. Same thing on this side with this little piece of shock cord here. This keeps my hand sanitizer in place, so I don't have to worry about this falling out. And then down here, this is my switch for my lights. It's a dimmer switch. And then this is my battery monitor. So this monitors everything that's going on with my battery here. So right now the van is using 0.8 amps in 1 hour. That's because I have these lights on. And if I flip this off, you can see it's dropping down to, you know, 0.2 or whatever. So that's only because I've got a couple batteries charging down here. Otherwise it would be closer to 0. And then this says I have 99% of my battery left. You're actually not supposed to keep these lithium batteries at 100%. It's best to keep them, you know, 60% or so, or, you know, generally between 20 and 80%. But because the storm's coming here in the next couple of days, and I think it's going to be cloudy and raining for 2 straight days, I don't want to have to run my van and use the alternator and the gas to replenish my battery, so I've just topped it off to 100% today. And then the rest of this stuff in here, I've just tried to put things that I want to use frequently in an easy to access kind of, you know, organized fashion. So I've got my watch here. I basically just put a bunch of little hooks in here. So I got my watch here. I keep a bunch of rubber bands because I use these for like bags of chips and stuff. This is a little LED light. I can just flip this and, you know, have light inside here if I need it at night. And then I can see inside this little cubby hole. And I've basically done the same thing as I've done throughout the rest of the van. I've used a series of nails and screws and shock cord to just kind of strap things to the inside of this cubby hole. So this is a flashlight here. This is a UV light. You know, you can kind of see that purple light. That's for, you know, you can shine scorpions and, you know, look for rocks and minerals that glow. And then if I'm charging GoPro batteries, I can put them up in this cubby hole and get them off the floor. I've got my pocket knife. And I've just used these staples. These are for electrical wiring. These are really handy. You can just kind of put these in here and use anything that's like a clip and just put it in there and it'll hold it pretty well. I took a magnet, I just drilled a hole in here and then recessed this magnet and glued it in. So now anything that's metal is just magnetized there. So I keep my jeweler's loop. This is what I use for rock hounding, and, you know, you look at crystals and stuff up close. So I can just put that right here and it stays there. And then I've got this pocket here. This came off of an old backpack. This was like a hip pocket, and I've repurposed it to just act as like a little storage space here. And I've got a little neoprene case here I made for my GoPro batteries, and, you know, a lighter and some USB charging adapters and things. And all this stuff can stay organized, and that way none of this gets too cluttered with crap just building up inside. And I have 4 12-volt outlets here. This one runs my cell phone signal booster. This is obviously just a dual port adapter for like charging batteries and things. And then you can turn on both ports here by just operating this switch. And then up here, this is my TV monitor, and this is my Android TV box. So if I flip this one switch, my monitor comes on, and then this Android TV box powers up, and this Android TV box powers this 4 terabyte external hard drive, and that's loaded with like shows and movies and stuff. And then I use this controller to operate this Android TV box. TV shows. This is my hard drive. We'll just go to movies. And the Android TV box can do all sorts of cool stuff. It's got access to YouTube, so I could use my phone's mobile hotspot, you know, and use my data to watch YouTube on the TV, on the big screen. So, you know, it's cool to have, and you can fold this away. And then, you know, all the cords and everything for this are just routed out of the way so that nothing is like cluttered and catching on anything. And I keep these hooks here so I can put like a day pack backpack here. And really what you're trying to do in a van build is just utilize all the space possible. And it's not just, you know, inside a shelf, it's on the outside of the shelf as well. Putting hooks and things here, using cargo netting, strapping things down, and just being creative about the way that you store things. This area here also acts as my office. So I do a lot of video editing here and things, and I've got a setup that works pretty well for me. I made this board to put my laptop on, and this is like a no-slip kind of material. So you put the laptop on this combined with the no-slip kind of like rubberized stuff on the back of the laptop, and you know, you can tilt this down at quite an angle before it starts slipping off. And that's a handy thing to have when you're in a van because you will drop things. And then I've got this camp chair, which I'll use to set this board on and put my feet on. So I've got my mouse, an external hard drive that has all my video editing files. So I like to have this as all one kind of, you know, setup unit that I can just pick this thing up and set it out of the way when I want it out of the way, and then when I'm ready to work again, you know, bring it back. And I'll usually sit back here in the chair like this and work on the laptop just like this. I'll also use this as a footrest, which, whether you're on the computer or not, just having a footrest is really, really nice. Well, that's it for the tour. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. I've got more great van content coming your way soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.